You're listening to a Bespoken Media production.
I've discovered that it's easier to talk when your hands are busy. It frees the mind from its normal constraints of reserve.
Welcome to New Frontiers, brought to you by Scotland's Veterans Wellbeing Alliance. I'm Hannah Utley.
And I'm Richard Henderson.
New Frontiers is the podcast that shines a light on the amazing charities across Scotland that are supporting veterans and their families to thrive in Civvy Street.
And in this episode, we're getting creative. We'll be hearing how arts and crafts can help veterans and their families to relax, stay focused and express themselves.
And you know that being creative is something that's so important to me, Richard. As I've said, I work a lot with a charity called Stand Easy, and we run creative projects for veterans and for their family members. So we do a lot of theatre, we also do filmmaking, we've done creative writing, we've done movement, all kinds of things. And we really see every day how trying these activities that for a lot of people is brand new can really give them a kind of new sense of purpose. It can improve their confidence, and I think most importantly it's bringing them together with other people that matters.
I mean, I'm glad you're saying that, because when I think of arts and crafts or anything like that, it just gives me the fear. You know, it's one of these things where, am I going to have to dance? Am I going to have to sing a tune? I don't know. I mean, I don't consider myself a particularly artistic person.
I don't think you're alone there. That is a real thing that we struggle with is getting people to sign up for things because of this preconceived idea of who can be creative, and like you say, the fear that you might suddenly find yourself on stage wearing tights and reciting Shakespeare.
The truth is, I've no problem with tights. Shakespeare's a bit of an issue.
First up, someone who knows a lot about the power of creativity in the arts is Mac McDade. Mac is a Navy veteran and an artist based in Renfrewshire. He loved drawing and painting ever since he was a kid, and now he is the co-founder of Warhead Project, which uses art to address the mental health challenges faced by veterans, military personnel and the wider community.
And we should say Mac also provided the artwork for New Frontiers. He colorised a picture from Hugo Jehan.
People need to understand is that the life and service is completely different, and it's that adjustment, and that's what we need time just to do, is to adjust.
Hi Mac, would you like to just introduce yourself first, please, and tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Mac McDade. I joined the Royal Navy at 17 and then did 9 years. I left that and I wanted to be a fireman actually. But in Hampshire, where I was living at the time, they weren't recruiting. So I then ended up becoming a driving instructor and then becoming a trainer of driving instructors. I did that for a few years and thoroughly enjoyed it until I injured my back, which meant I couldn't do it anymore. So I was sort of at a loose end. I didn't really know what to do with myself. So I had a couple of other jobs and then found myself teaching art, or an art tutor for veterans. And that's about that, really.
Let's take a step back first. So why the Navy?
Well, it was really just because the year before I went to the recruiting office, my brother had gone to the recruiting office. And I found myself in a job that I didn't enjoy, which my dad got me after leaving school, which was with Rediffusion TV. People who used to hire out TV sets. I really didn't like it very much. I found myself up in Glasgow, probably up in the music shops buying albums or something. And I was walking down the road and there was the recruiting office. And something just grabbed me and pulled me in. And it wasn't the chief pay officer that was there. It was, I think it was just an instant thing. I thought, well, it was good enough for my brother. It was good enough for me. So I went in and before I knew it, I was, taking a test, etc. And that was me, Didn't think anything else about it after I left until I got the letter through saying, well done, you've signed up.
Your life's about to change.
Yeah, drastically. I joined up in January of 79 at the tender age of 17 in a couple of months. He said to me, what would you like to do in the Navy? What branch? I had no idea. And he said, I'll tell you what we're recruiting for at the moment. And he reeled off a couple of things. So I thought, I don't even know what that is. And then he said, cook. And I said, yeah, that'll do. So, because I'd done home economics at school, made sense to me. So they said to me, you can sign up for 3 years or 9 years. And I thought about it, and he said, you get more money if you sign for 9. I said, okay then. So that was that. That was the way my decisions were made back then. And so 9 years it was, but I knew that I would leave after 9. And I knew I didn't want to be a chef in Civvy Street when I left. So I knew I wanted to try and do something completely different because I'd been there, done that kind of thing.
And what was it like for you when you left the Navy after 9 years?
It wasn't too bad. When I discovered I couldn't get into the fire service straight away, I thought, well, what am I going to do with myself now? And so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I saw this advert saying, become a driving instructor. And I thought, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So I enjoyed when I was in the Navy. I did quite a bit of sort of, taking new guys, young chefs under my wing and things like that, later on in my service. And I thought I quite enjoyed that sort of imparting knowledge to people. And so I thought, I quite fancy that because I fancied myself as a good driver, as everybody does. And so I thought, yeah, that sounds good to me. And then I went and had an interview and blah, blah, blah. And enjoyed the course and thoroughly enjoyed getting into it. Loved it.
So how did the art come along then?
Well, art has always been there. I always remember when we were kids, I can remember drawing from, my earliest memories. If I was old enough to hold a pencil, I was drawing something. My brothers and I, 2 older brothers, and we were always drawing. We had comic books and things like that. We were into films and music, so the latest film magazine, music magazines. We were always drawing, the latest bands and things like that, and the latest movie actors of the time. So we were always sketching and drawing. And then I did some stuff while I was in the Navy. I used to do some illustrations and things for the ship's magazine or newsletter. Little funny cartoons. I managed to stay anonymous for quite a long time, actually, just slotting them into the SEO's post box time and time again. But and then did some portraits for guys on board of Olivia Newton-John, Kate Bush, all the sort of stars at the time. And then I did a couple of murals for family and friends. And then it was only really more recently, during lockdown, I actually got really back into it again in a big way. And I just kept churning out artworks.
And do you find yourself that art very therapeutic for you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'd like to say it's what's kept me sane over the years, but I don't even, maybe a second opinion on that. When you get totally into that zone of, you're painting, you're doing whatever, it's an amazing thing. And I always like to have some music while I'm doing my art as well. I'm a big fan of movie soundtracks and classical music as well. So I usually have something on in the background that's not lyrics and things like that. So it's a very soothing, very chilled time. So yeah, it definitely helps.
So now you're getting veterans involved in artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it means to them? What sort of changes do you see when people engage with art with yourself?
It's incredible, really. Obviously, you as I say, I experienced it for myself. I was on board HMS Plymouth in the Falklands War. I've had my own little sort of time of trauma, but I don't know. Art has probably helped me, and music has helped me over the years with that. And you just really take it for granted because you don't realize it in yourself. But when you see it happen in others, and you do see it, people come into the art room, they go, well, I haven't done anything since school, or I can't draw a matchstick man or whatever. And you just say, well, come in and, have a go, just try anything. What do you fancy? Do you like pencils? Do you like paint? Whatever. And once you get them sat down with a bit of paper and you can sort of suggest some ideas if they haven't got any for themselves, and then they start, and then you just help them with the process a little bit. Once they start to create, you can then see that change in them, and then they start to focus more, and then they start to get into it, and you can see them in the zone, and it's a lovely, lovely thing to see, especially for people who don't have anything like that in their life at that time, and it's really, you can see then once they've finished that first session, and they go, yeah, I'll maybe come back to back and have another go, and then they come back again, and it's more so they want to learn more, they want to create something, or they've got a picture with them and say, can I do this? And they come up with fantastic ideas sometimes for pieces. It's a privilege really to help them along the way and to create something that means something to them.
So what made you set up Warhead then?
Warhead is an initiative really for people to take up any creative activity that directly combats isolation, stigma, provides safe environment. So whether it's people who done their time in service and they have a traumatic experience or not, it doesn't matter. We welcome everybody. We welcome family members as well, all walks of life. We don't mind. It's really just about that shared experience of creating, and that then sort of brings people together. It's a wonderful thing to see and to do for a living. With Warhead, we saw the potential of art and creativity, and it was a co-creator then, Jason, who came up with the idea of doing an exhibition of artworks based on what we'd seen, and so we looked around for a venue, and we came up with the Submarine Centre in Helensburgh, which has a submarine, full-size 53-foot submarine sitting in the middle of a room with 360-degree projection and sound all around it. So that was a total sort of, wow, this is amazing space. But it's not what we would have thought of for a traditional art exhibition. That then made us rethink it. And so I went off and started editing video clips and video that we'd taken ourselves, and put music to it to tell the story of a veteran's life from childhood through joining the service, the being part of the service, perhaps going through some trauma, and then coming out the other side with their art and how that helps. And it just was amazing. And so much so that the Submarine Centre said that they would put it on for an extra week for free. So it ran for a couple of weeks, and then we were blown away with the feedback. People were saying how amazing it was, how emotional they felt, which was the kind of thing you really wanted to hear, and how veterans themselves said, I was nearly in tears there, but it was really good, towards the end. It just lifted me right up, and, which is also what we wanted to hear. We don't want anybody suffering through watching it, but it was fantastic. So we sort of did that as a one-off, and then people kept saying to us, "Oh, are you doing more? Are you doing more? When can I see it? When can I do this?" And so it made us think, maybe this thing has got legs. Maybe we should do more with this. And so that's what we started. And also where we were tutoring veterans in a specific catchment area. We would get veterans coming from outside of that area saying, "Oh, I wish there was something like this where I am." And so we thought, well, maybe we should be, looking at trying to help these people that are outside of this area because there's nothing there for them. So that's what really made us move forward and start to look at Warhead as an ongoing thing. And so we created the CIC, and now that's what we're trying to do. Make it more accessible.
So when you mention art, I know there's a lot of different levels there, and you'd mentioned doing some editing. Do you cover all aspects of art?
Yeah, all the mediums. We're also looking at writing, music. We want to try and make it as open as possible so we can get as many people involved as we can. What we want to also try and do is do some little pop-up art cafes where we can hold little sessions and just talk about art and talk about, what we want to do and things like that, and then set up little groups. Maybe online would be a good option for that.
So if someone's sitting listening to this and they're thinking, I quite fancy giving that a go, how would they get in contact with you?
We've got our website, warheadproject.uk, and people can message us on there and let us know if they're interested. And then what we can try and do then is look to cater for them in their area. We've got a couple of areas in mind at the moment, but we're looking at venues and art therapists and people that will be able to run the workshops in there. We might be doing a couple of one-day sort of taster workshops where people can come along and see what was about. But if anyone wants more information, then we're on Facebook as well, Warhead Project, on Instagram, and as I say, the website's out there as well, and they can have a look at what our intentions are.
And I'm just thinking from my own point of view here, but can people actually purchase your art if they see something like that's cracking? I want that on my wall.
They can. We've got a shop on the website as well with a few pieces on it at the moment, but that's going to be building up as we get more and more artworks. Yeah, and if anybody wants to get in touch who's already creating art, contact us through the website.
Brilliant. And so you're working with veterans, but we all know that a lot of the support network for the veterans is the family behind them. Are the family allowed to engage in the artwork as well?
Oh yes, definitely. We have some family members come to us at the moment with the veterans, and they absolutely love it, and it really gets them chatting as well. Yeah, we get some banter, some good old family banter during sessions. It's hilarious. I love going to work.
And I imagine art's a really good way of getting people to open up.
It is, because it's a non-verbal way for them to express themselves in what's going on with them. It does become a lot easier for people to open up. It's not all fireworks and and blasts and gory imagery. It's a lot of it's just sort of nice, calm, easy stuff, but it means something to them. It has a relevance to them. A lot of people want to paint their places they used to go on holiday, so it's happy memories kind of stuff with family and things like that sometimes, and so they'll try and bring that to and that's what they want to start with. But yeah, it's a great thing to see. It's a visual language for veterans that can't or don't want to talk about it, and it's a good way of them expressing that. It doesn't matter what it is or whether you're good or not. It's just about the actual doing of it. That's where the therapy comes. So it's a completely different type of thing where you're giving yourself the therapy itself. So you're not relying on someone else. You might have someone there to sort of say, "Oh, this is how you use such and such a medium," but the whole thing is really about you creating something and it's saying something back to you. So it's a very personal thing.
I guess it's a really good way for people to express their emotions.
Yeah.
When they can't any other way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I probably subconsciously have done that myself for years without really even realizing it. I mean, you don't need to be an artist to do art, to create something. It's the easiest thing really to do, is to add a bit of color to a sheet of white paper. Through doing that, you then find that once you get to sort of know the techniques of using certain mediums and what goes and when it goes on the paper, etc., then it becomes much easier. And it's a great thing to be able to say, I created that. And if it means something to you, it doesn't matter what it is. The whole world's a critic, and we're our own worst critics. It's worth just having a go.
Brilliant. One last question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you wish people in Civvy Street, what do you wish they would better understand about veterans?
Yeah. I think the general sort of way people think of veterans is the way they're portrayed in TV, films, and things like that. That they're all sort of stressed out, hyper vigilant, jumping under tables and things, when a bang goes off. And that's not reality. Veterans have a lot to offer. They've got a very diverse range of skills that they've gathered from their time in service, and it's a kind of unique thing. And I think what people see is someone trying to adjust back to being a civilian from service life. And that's what people sort of go a bit odd for, because it's a completely different way of life. I mean, if I was on a ship for 6 months and hadn't touched land, then I'm going to be slightly different to somebody who's, just walking along the street day after day. And so that kind of thing is what people need to understand, is that the life in service is completely different, and it's that adjustment, and that's what we need time to do, is to adjust. We're not different. We're the same people. We have great sense of humor mostly, and we have a great set of skills. You just need to allow us to use them and meet you halfway.
Thank you for that, Matt. Look, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. And I just encourage everyone to get online and have a look at your artwork, because it truly is tremendous. Some of the stuff I've seen have just been fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
I think what really struck me, Richard, about your conversation there with Mac was just this idea that it's not difficult to be creative, that we've all got that within us, and it's just being given the right opportunity, I suppose, to do so.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing with Mac, what he shows as well is, he found something that he liked when he was younger, and it came back.
Yeah.
It never leaves you.
Yeah.
It just depends how far you want to take it. And, he's taken it to great
Very
levels.
far, yeah. And I think, that's, again, it's something we often hear a lot at Stand Easy, is people often come and say, oh, I've never done anything like this. And then as we get to know them, we find out maybe they really liked drama at school, or, them and their friends, they used to make, to make up their own songs, or they used to write stories when they were wee, or something like that, that there often is a link back to childhood, like you say.
And I suppose, everyone is creative, whether they know it or not, because even as a child, when you've done something wrong and you're going to get tell off by your folks, you're creative, embellishing a story because it wasn't me.
Yeah, and really, what job requires more creativity than being in the military? You've got to think on your feet so much and improvise in these incredibly challenging situations. And, we always say that the skills that you need in a drama space or in a creative space are a lot of the same skills that you are using in the military space, just in a very different way. You're thinking on your feet, you're working with other people. I think really importantly, you're part of something that's bigger than yourself, that you're serving something. And yeah, those are all the same skills.
And I would say, since I've met with Mac, I have gone and looked at a lot of the artwork that they've done, and it's phenomenal.
It is, it's fantastic, isn't it?
It blew me away. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting the quality that was there. That's for sure. Unbelievable artwork.
Yeah, that's anyone can do it, really.
So I might get my tracing paper out.
You do it.
Start again.
You do it.
So next, I'm taking a trip to Livingston, West Lothian, to drop in on a workshop run by Veterans Tribe Scotland.
Veterans Tribe Scotland organise creative get-togethers for veterans and their families. Each event is created and centred around one craft activity, but as we'll hear, there is a lot more on offer at these events than just crafting.
So we've come to the Lanthorn Community Centre here in Livingston today to come and visit Veterans Tribe Scotland. They've got a workshop on, and they're going to be doing mosaic. Now, Veterans Tribe Scotland go all round Scotland doing different arts and crafts, so we've come along today to meet some of the veterans and see what's going on.
we're doing mosaics today. We've got all our different tiles and things, lots of different mosaic tiles. What we do then is we'll be putting all the tiles onto different wood pieces. So we've got little things like coasters and stuff like that, right up to big fancy pictures and trays and all sorts of stuff that we can make some masterpieces. Choice is theirs. Can I just interrupt for one quick moment? Okay, so first of all, we're going to pick our piece of wood that you want to put the tiles onto. So I think we already sussed out roughly what we're going to use for you. Pick your tiles, and then we'll get some glue and get your tiles. Then we'll stick them all onto your wooden piece. Let that dry, which isn't going to take very long in this heat, and then you'll be ready to grout. But I'll talk about the grouting when we come on to it, because it's too much in one go. So once we've done that, that'll be halfway done already. I'm Jerry McGregor. I'm the founder and the events and activities coordinator for Veterans Tribe Scotland. I'm a veteran myself. I spent 11 years in the RAF, serving in the 80s and the 90s. Came out on redundancy and then had some health issues after that, which led me to do various different things, getting back up to fitness, and then also working in some military organisations and also a community campus, sort of doing all creative events and activities and things. So now we run Veterans Tribe Scotland, which does creative events and activities all throughout Scotland.
Stop the flow there. So I want an escape route.
Stuart's our comedian.
There's always one.
There's always one.
What are you doing today, Stuart?
No idea.
Do you want to do coasters? Do you want to do a picture? Peruse at your pleasure, okay? And then you too can make something as amazing as that.
Better.
Oh, that's fighting talk.
Challenge.
Overall, it's what you want out of it. To every individual, it means something different. So some people we have where they will say, you know, I'm so glad you're back, you know, I haven't been out since the last time you came. Where you'll get then to the other end of the scale where, you know, that people will come in, you know, because it's to escape for a few hours. They might be having a tough time. They might be having, you know, some struggles at work or even out of work at that point. There's a whole lot, you know, from one end of the scale to the other and anything in between. There are a few people that will come in, they're not really bothered about the crafts, they're coming in for the social aspect, which is fine because we all say there's only one rule at Veterans Tribe Scotland, and that's there are no rules. If you want to just come in and have a cup of tea and a chat, that's what you do. If you want to come in and make 20 things, that's what you can do. So we try and accommodate whatever it is that someone wants out of us. We choose the activities very deliberately so that there's a sliding scale in each activity from the very basic right up to some very complicated stuff. And because people will slot in somewhere again in between, you'll have people that either through mobility issues or, you know, really just confidence trying to get involved in something will only be able to manage something very simple. You know, if it's mobility reasons, then we'll always tailor something so nobody feels left out. We always will have something for everybody.
What motivated you to join the RAF, and was it a positive experience for you?
I had a couple of motivations. I grew up in Cornwall, in Long Rock, which is like 12 miles from Land's End, so it was right down the bottom. And growing up in Cornwall, there was nothing. If you wanted a career, you left. So unless it was in hospitality, if you wanted to be a fisherman, or in retail, and that was it. But also then I'm from a service background family. My dad did 22 in the Navy, he was in the Fleet Air Arm. And it was just then when I was wandering aimlessly after school, going from one job to another, thinking, what can I do? I was always really like sporty physical and not great at school either. So, you know, it was Dad was the one that was saying, well, why don't you just join up? You know, get a career in the forces. They'll teach you stuff. We had 2 recruitment places in Cornwall. One was the Navy and one was the RAF, and they were both 2 doors side by side. And I walked up to the doors. I was thinking, oh, I'll probably go in the Navy like my dad. And the Navy guy turned his back on me, and the Air Force guy went and waved me in. I went, oh, okay then. And I went in there and I joined the RAF, and that was kind of it. I loved every single bit of my Air Force career. There was tough times and went through a few things, with stuff that happened globally as well as personally, but I still wouldn't change it for the world.
So, what was your experience like when you were transitioning out the RAF?
When I was coming out of the RAF, it was at a time where there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. I think in the 90s, it was a case of, all right, you're off then, see ya. We'll come to a couple of little courses and what have you to rehabilitate yourself into the outside world. But there was only a very few sort of things, and it was stuff that they assumed that people were going to want to do after they left the forces. Particularly as a female veteran, it was very tailored to the engineering types or certain activities, lots of security, things like that. My role, unfortunately, as well, in the Air Force, there wasn't a civilian equivalent. So trying to work something out in civilian life then was really tricky. And it didn't help. I think that my husband was a veteran as well, and we both ended up coming out at the same time on redundancy. So it was a big double whammy, trying to deal with both the personal stuff, i.e. finding a new house, how the hell did you get a dentist? It was, what do you do to sign up to a doctor and stuff like that, which nobody taught you at all. And, the last one that did that for me was my mum, and so you never knew at all what to do. And then there was that complication of having the pair of you. Neither of us had a clue. So that was even worse. And then being displaced as well. We were in London at the time, and it was not realistic for us to stay in London to live. So there was all of that going on.
Rolling on a few years, you've worked with a few different veterans organisations. Why did you decide to set up Veterans Tribe Scotland?
It was really a meeting of parts, shall we say. I think Veterans Tribe Scotland wouldn't have happened unless I'd been through everything in my life that I have been through. After I left the forces, I had some serious injuries, which left me housebound, and I couldn't walk for a number of years. And there was no support whatsoever from anybody. Before I was injured, I was a very big sports person. I did a lot of stuff. It was 7 days a week. I'm quite hyperactive. That was my outlet. I was always doing lots of stuff. I was so housebound, and it affected my mental health. I wasn't old. I thought, good God, is this it? Is this my life now? I couldn't see a future. So as well as all the medication I was on, which didn't help, it very much affected me mentally, and I then went downhill. It got to a point where I wouldn't have left the house even if I could, because I couldn't walk more than a couple of metres almost, and it was there was nothing there. It was my husband. I was hounding him. He was carrying me down the stairs in the morning, going to work, and I was on the phone to him. What time are you home? When are you doing this? What that? And in the end, in desperation almost, he said, right, try and do something with this, And there was this paper and the paints. And I literally, that next day, I sat there at the table and I had it all laid out in front of me. He went off, and the next thing I knew, it was 5:30 in the evening. He came through the door and I went, oh, okay, you're back, are you? I hadn't even noticed. And I'd spent the whole day, and as soon as I'd finished one paper, I'd scribbled it, painted some patterns. I literally shoved it to one side, got another one and did it. And I carried on doing that. And I did that for months and months. It was only after that I then started thinking, well, actually, I'm coming out of myself in that time, so let's try something else and let's do it. And it got me to the point where I was then mentally stimulated enough I took my aromatherapy diploma for something to do, and that's how we ended up on the craft circuit, the craft fairs and things, doing stuff for charity at the beginning, and then trying to do something as a business, and then got introduced to all of the different craft activities that people were doing on the circuit. It really opened my eyes to how it helped them physically and mentally. It's all very well to say to people, well, just have a chill out and sit down and relax and what have you, but I can't do that. I've got to actually do something to relax and train myself almost to get into that relaxed state. I think it's the best thing ever is the creativity in the crafts. And I thought I knew that all the craft stuff I had done and with all the groups, together with what I'd been doing with Help for Heroes and my previous roles, it needed something, and there was nothing out there like it. So I thought, you know what, we'll take my 2 months redundancy pay and we'll set the tribe up. And that's how the tribe started. So you want to let your creativity run wild. Do something like
you wouldn't like it if I did.
Well, do something like you did with your lino printing. Yeah.
A bit abstract.
Yeah. We like
I
abstract.
can do abstract.
Yeah. So what we'll do now, Penny, it's whether you're wanting to do a nice big picture or some coasters or whatever.
My name's Penny. I am currently playing with a bit of mosaicing, hoping to build a picture with it. I'm trying to come up with a Viking axe for my son, who has a fascination with the Nordic world. It's always easier said than done. I know what I want it to look like. Oh, there we go.
You were a veteran yourself, is that correct?
Yes, I served around about 20 years in the Army, Adjutant General's Course, Staff and Personnel Support Branch.
How did you enjoy your time in service?
I miss it every single day. The last couple of jobs I had, I absolutely loved. And I loved the people I worked with, and I miss them.
So what motivated you to join the army?
I needed a proper job to support my family. I needed a career that would go somewhere rather than just being a security guard for the rest of my life. I found it within the army. It's a home. It is a family. It is a support network. You have your comedians. You have your thoughtful people. You have the ones who are always good for a discussion or an argument. Don't get on with everybody, but it's a lifestyle where there is always somebody for you.
What made you leave service in the end?
I had a bad nervous breakdown, and at the same time an old injury came back to haunt me in my back. I was no use anymore, I can see that, but it was still a wrench.
And what was your experience of transitioning? I mean, obviously a tough time for yourself.
I was very lucky. I had my support worker from the 51 Brigade, and she was absolutely fantastic. She talked to me, she assisted me, she guided me through things. And then with the going through the resettlements, that was done also by the army, and yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I mean, nothing can really prepare you for outside. Nothing can really prepare you for the differences between military life and civil life. So, yeah, struggled a little bit at first, but no, with a wonderful partner and a wonderful family around, yeah, I made it through.
And you found your way here today to Veterans Tribe Scotland. How long have you been coming to Veterans Tribe Scotland?
I've been coming to Veteran Tribe Scotland since before it was Veteran Tribe Scotland. When Jerry was the coordinator for Help for Heroes Band of Brothers, I was coming along to the events she put on there. And then as Help for Heroes pulled away from Scotland, Jerry set up Veteran Tribe Scotland. And I think I've been here since day one.
And how important is it to you?
It is very important. It does a lot that nothing else does. I mean, yes, there's the aspect of learning different art methods, yeah, working with mosaics, working with glass painting, bookbinding, pretty much every handcraft under the sun. The thing I find best about it is I've discovered that it's easier to talk when your hands are busy. It frees the mind from its normal constraints of reserve. If you're talking to somebody face to face, eye contact, there's always going to be an invisible barrier because you're worried what that person's eyes will tell you. Here, you talk with your hands busy and the words flow, and we support each other. We listen to each other, we talk to each other, we help each other. I've met lots of really great people because it's so informal. We don't have to sit and do a craft. So we can just sit and have a chat because we've all been there in one way or another. We've all served or lived alongside someone who served. We've all been through a lot of the same things, and we have our own language, and it makes us feel a lot better.
You're not pushed to do anything you don't want to do. You do as little or as much as you want. I could sit here all day just drinking coffee and chatting, and it wouldn't be wrong. My name's Stuart Brown. I'm an ex-Matlow, or for them that don't know, Royal Navy. I've been coming to the Veterans Tribe pretty much since it started, because I used to help out at the events. Well, through life and one thing and another, I've had to take a little step back. But other than that, yeah, come here. You meet people you've never seen before, you meet people you have seen before, and it's like family, really. If you got a problem, someone will solve it for you, or you will solve their problems. People just talk freely without feeling they're under pressure to do so. And when you do stuff like this, it's a good way of getting rid of stress. Because you're focused on one thing, you can't stress about what you came in with. And when you go out, you feel a whole lot better.
What would you say to anybody that's thinking about coming along to Veterans Tribe?
I would say, come along, you've been made really welcome. There's nobody ever been turned away. And everybody that come here has felt at home and able to talk. Because we're all friendly, we don't bite much. It's like coming back to family. Dark humour. That's a lifeline of veterans, If it's upsetting, laugh at it. That's it, basically.
Just drop that. There we go.
I don't know where Jerry gets her energy from.
What do you wish the general public understood more about veterans?
First of all, veterans are people too. Yes, we served. Yes, we were all trained in a somewhat violent role. That doesn't make us violent, because most of us learned how to channel that violence to the right thing at the right time. And most of the time, we're just like anybody else. And just because we have had mental health issues caused by service doesn't mean we're all raging psychopaths. We are people. We have lived in a different world, but we are people. We have hopes, we have aspirations, we have dreams, we have families, we have loved ones, just like everybody else does.
I was just getting you some more dark ones. There we go, look. No, that's cracking, that's coming out really well, yeah.
Thank you.
I was just giving you some more.
There is one thing I'd like to add. This is aimed at veterans. Do not be alone. Sitting on your own, stewing over things that could have been, should have been, would have been. You're going to leave yourself in a hiding to nothing. Talk to somebody. Come along to an event like this where talk is free, where you can keep your hands busy, where you can release your mind, and you can find people who understand.
I'll tell you what, this has really been a lifesaver.
Oh, have you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Cool.
I think what really stands out from that conversation with Jerry, apart from the fact that clearly these guys absolutely love coming to these events with her, is this idea that someone mentioned, I think it was Jerry mentioned it herself, that the crafting or the creative activity can be a way to sort of tap into this, to relaxing, that we might not all find it easy just to sit and relax, and actually doing something with our hands can become quite meditative and can give us that chance to pause and reflect on things.
Yeah, and the thing that came across is when you're doing something with your hands, it slows your brain down.
Yes.
Very much so. And one thing I would say that obviously people listening to this won't be able to see is Jerry has quite a small car. And she travels all around Scotland putting on different arts and crafts events. That car's like the TARDIS. I have no idea how she gets so much stuff in that vehicle.
It's lovely to be able to go into that space where there are no expectations, really. And you're going to be met by a friendly face who's not going to probe you too much if you don't want to get involved that day.
Yeah, and you know what? The energy. There's so much energy there.
Absolutely.
Jerry brings so much energy to these days as well. You know, it's infectious.
Thanks so much to Mac and to Jerry, and thank you so much to you all for listening to New Frontiers, a podcast by Scotland's Veterans Wellbeing Alliance.
We really hope you've enjoyed the episodes. If you have, please share it with someone that you think would find it useful.
And you can also help us out by rating and reviewing the podcast in your podcast app.
Have a look at the episode description for links to the organisations mentioned in this episode.
And to find out more about Scotland's Veterans Wellbeing Alliance and the organisations supporting veterans across Scotland, you can visit sbwa.org.uk.
New Frontiers is produced by Bespoken Media, recording and editing by Patrick Wallace, Katie Revel, Ailish Hunter and Dave Howard. The music is Something New by Eastern Plain. See you later, Hannah.
See you later, Richard.
Produced by Bespoken Media.